questions, so. All right. So good morning. My name is Sandy Hertz. I am the chair of the Project Review Subcommittee for the Critical Area Commission. Before we get started, I wanted to just inform everyone on the call that the Project Subcommittee is holding this meeting virtually using Microsoft Teams. A video of this meeting will be provided on our website in accordance with the Open Meetings Act requirements. All microphones will be muted or should be muted, and we ask that you hold all questions or comments until the end of each presentation. Please announce yourself by name when speaking so that any attendees on the phone can identify you. If you're joining the meeting by phone, press *6 to unmute yourself or press *6 again to remute. The public was invited to submit written comments on any agenda item up to 24 hours prior to this meeting. For those comments, if received, they will be read by commission staff at the appropriate time. Kate, if you would, or Charlotte, whoever is doing the roll call, if you would like to do the roll call to establish quorum.
Sure, I'll take care of it. So I see that we have in attendance Commissioners Hertz, Commissioner Eames, Commissioner Grant, Commissioner Laird, Commissioner Mangum, Commissioner Parker, Commissioner McCall, and Commissioner Robertson. So anyone I'm missing? Okay.
Sounds good. Before we get started with our first agenda item, I would like to ask the commissioners in attendance if they've had a chance to review the January subcommittee meeting minutes. And if they have, I would like to ask for a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion to approve, Commissioner Laird.
Thank you, Commissioner Laird. Would anyone like to second the motion to approve?
Second, Commissioner Grant.
Second, Mangum.
All right, we have a second by Commissioner Grant. All those in favor of approving the minutes from January 1st, please indicate by saying aye. Unmuting yourself.
Aye.
All right. Are there any nays? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Nick, if you could please put that in the chat for the record, that would be great. And I guess that the motion to pass the minutes was approved, something along those lines. And at this point, I would like to call upon Kate Durant to present the first and only, I believe, project for today's meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner Hertz. I apologize in advance for the sound of my voice. I have COVID, so it's good that we're doing this remotely. All right, can everybody see my presentation?
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
I see a thumbs up. Great. So thank you, Commissioner Hertz, again. Good morning. I am Kate Durant. I will be presenting the Maryland 413 Multi-Use Path Project. Catherine Skeeter from Somerset County and Ankur Patel, the consultant for the project, are joining us for the meeting. I believe John Redden from Somerset County will also be trying to join us, but I'm not sure if he's on yet. Also, before I get started, I wanted to let you know that there was a small typo on the first page of the staff report. It originally said this is the Maryland 413 Multi-Use Train Project. It has been revised to say it is the Maryland 413 Multi-Use Path Project. There is one more small revision that I will mention more when we get to the mitigation section of this presentation. Excuse me. Oh no. There we go. So this project is located near Westover, which is south of Princess Anne in Somerset County. The path will be constructed on the historic Eastern Shore Railroad along the northbound side of 413. So over here, you can see the length of the path in yellow. It's within the State Highway Administration, or SHA, right-of-way. And previous phase of this project was approved as locally consistent under COMAR. So as you can see, the orange line designates the section of path that we'll be talking about. Most of it is outside of the critical area, but there is a small section that is inside the critical area. The critical area designation for this part of the project is Resource Conservation Area, or RCA. The entire section of path is approximately 3.2 miles, but only about 1,000 linear feet are actually located in the critical area. So Somerset County is proposing to construct this phase of the multi-use path to complete the entire path that stretches from Crisfield, which is to the south, up to Westover. And it's just shy of the Maryland 413 and Maryland 13 intersection. The limit of disturbance for the entire project is 18.96 acres. 3.3 acres are located in the critical area. So this project will be constructed and maintained by Somerset County. However, SHA District 1 is helping fund the design and providing oversight with a Federal Transportation Alternatives grant. So again, over here on the map, we see the orange line showing the entire length of the project, small section in the RCA, and this is for future reference. There's an orange pin up here that shows the approximate location of the additional mitigation site. We'll get into further detail about that in a few more slides. The area outlined in orange shows the approximate location of the path that is located within the critical area. As you can see, the big Essex River through here where it gets all weavy runs along a portion of the path within the critical area, and that is the area where the permanent impacts to the 100-foot buffer will occur. So the proposed project includes clearing in the right-of-way, as well as regrading and paving the defunct railway bed with asphalt. Within the 100-foot buffer, there are approximately 28,187 square feet will be disturbed, and 14,314 square feet of tree canopy will be cleared. An additional 40,522 square feet of canopy will be cleared outside of the buffer, but within the critical area. There are no impacts to tidal wetlands, and the impacts to the non-tidal wetlands have been reduced to less than 5,000 square feet. So as I mentioned on the previous slide, we're seeing that pin again over here. Again, this orange area is the location, approximate location of the impacts, as well as some of the mitigation. So the required mitigation for the permanent buffer disturbance is 2-to-1 plus 1-to-1 for the area of canopy cleared, for a total of 70,688 square feet for buffer impacts. 1-to-1 mitigation is also required for the area of canopy cleared outside of the buffer, but inside the critical area, which means the total mitigation required for the entire project is 111,210 square feet, or 2.55 acres. The proposed mitigation is 116,131 square feet, with 4,700 square feet of planting on site in the 100-foot buffer, 49,408 square feet of planting on site within the critical area, 12,800 square feet of planting on site outside of the critical area along the path, and 49,223 square feet of planting off-site within the critical area at the location of this pin, roughly, which is at the Board of Education campus. So the pin shows it here. You can see it's in the critical area, and then this other little orange square up here is the approximate location as well of the off-site mitigation at the Board of Education. Ideally, the mitigation for canopy cleared in the buffer would be planted in the buffer. However, there are limited opportunities to do so at this time. So here's where the revision comes into the staff report. A new planting plan showing additional on-site plantings and the critical area was submitted after my staff report was sent out. So the following numbers are higher than what was originally in my staff report. My staff report will be revised, and that will be, I believe, included in the minutes. So the on-site plantings will now include approximately 189 trees, including red maple, hackberry, black gum, swamp white oak, pin oak, bald cypress, and loblolly pine, and 162 shrubs, including sweet pepper bush, spice bush, sweet bay magnolia, wax myrtle, northern bayberry, and arrowwood. The off-site plantings up here at the Board of Education are adjacent to mitigation plantings from the previous phase of this multi-use path. They will include red oak, red maple, sweet bay magnolia, eastern redbud, black gum, white pine, and loblolly pine. Approval is pending from the Maryland Department of Environment, or MDE, and Somerset County for the Stormwater Management Plan and the Sediment and Erosion Control Plan. Approval is also pending from the United States Army Corps of Engineers for the statewide permit. A letter of authorization for the non-tidal wetland impacts is also pending from MDE. The Department of Natural Resources, Wildlife and Heritage Service determined that there is one rare species of plant located within the project area, but the species is thought to be locally abundant, so there are no recommendations for minimizing impacts to the plant. The Maryland Historical Trust determined that there are no historic properties affected by this project. Public notice was published in the Crisfield Somerset County Times on January 18th, 2023, as seen here on the left. And then, sorry for the blurriness of the photo. When I expanded it, it can no longer read it, but I swear all the information is there. So 2 signs are posted along the project. Since it stretches for 3.2 miles along Maryland 413. One sign is located that's the northernmost portion of the project, near the intersection of Maryland 413 and Maryland 13. The other sign is located at the southernmost portion of the project, near the Big Anamessex River. No comments have been received. Conditional approval is required for this project because it is development that is proposed by a local jurisdiction, Somerset County, on state-owned land that does not meet the requirements of the Somerset County Critical Area Program. Due to proposed non-water dependent buffer impacts in the RCA. Other than the permanent impacts and the canopy clearing in the 100-foot buffer, the proposed project conforms to the laws and regulations. This phase of the multi-use path is necessary so that it can connect to previous phases and provide a recreation need for citizens. Impacts are unavoidable because the path runs parallel to Maryland 413. 2-to-1 mitigation is proposed for the permanent disturbance to the buffer, and 1-to-1 mitigation is proposed for canopy cleared in the buffer, plus 1-to-1 mitigation is proposed for canopy cleared outside of the buffer within the critical area. The proposed mitigation will be planted on site and in the buffer to the extent practicable. The additional mitigation plantings will be adjacent to mitigation plantings from previous phases of this project at the county's Board of Education campus, and they will be within the critical area. This is just a photo showing part of the already completed path along Maryland 413, so you can get an idea of what it will look like. Staff recommends approval with the following conditions. Within 30 days of the date of commission approval, the applicant shall meet with commission staff to review the proposed planting plans at the Board of Education site to determine the most optimal location for habitat and water quality. Within 60 days of the date of commission approval, all final plans and approvals, including the approved statewide general permit, the approved stormwater management plan, the approved sediment and erosion control plan, the final non-tidal wetlands letter of authorization, and a final buffer management plan and planting plan shall be submitted to commission staff. One more. Within 60 days of the date of commission approval, a signed planting agreement form for the mitigation shall be submitted to commission staff for review and approval. Here's another photo of the completed section of the path, in the hopes that this will be what this new section will look like. So, does anyone have any questions?
Commissioner Eames has a question.
Please go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Why would you mitigate inside of the buffer zone use only a 1-to-1? Isn't the nature of planting that you will have some failure of the plants that you are putting there? It appears to me it should be a 2-to-1.
Well, okay. They're mitigating 1-to-1 for the canopy cleared. And then they are mitigating 2-to-1 for the permanent disturbance. There is usually some amount of plants that don't make it, but when we look at canopy, when we're mitigating for canopy, we're looking at overall area of canopy. So even if, 1 or 2 of the trees don't make it, it should still create the same amount of overall tree coverage that was there before. Does that address the question?
Well, I guess a better question is what is the, tree failure rate from other projects?
That I am not sure of. I can look into it and I can find out, but I don't know off the top of my head.
Kate, just to clarify as well, there is a maintenance and monitoring period that is required of the plantings. So during that period, if the survivability does not meet our regulations, additional planting would be required. That's part of the planting agreement that the county will sign. That's one of Kate's recommendations here, conditions of approval.
Okay, thank you for that answer. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Tammy has her hands up.
Yes.
Can you go back
Robertson?
to the permits that are required? I think it's just one more slide backwards.
Oh, sorry.
So,
This one. There we go.
all right, so it says the statewide general permit. Is that in regards to the Army Corps permit?
Yes, that is in regards to the Army Corps.
All right, and so then is the NPDS permit for construction activity, is that captured here also? Because I think it was mentioned that they're disturbing, well over an acre. So I didn't know if the NPDS permit has been obtained too.
I'm not aware of an NPDS permit. Aqua or
That's usually the
Catherine?
general construction permit for all projects that disturb 1 acre or more. And so I just wanted to know if that had also been obtained from MDE too.
Right, we, once we get a final, so we're in the final stages with stormwater management approval. Sorry, I forgot to announce myself. I'm Ankur Patel with, Burgess and Associates. We're the design team for this. So yeah, we're in the final stages of stormwater management approval with county, and once we receive final approval, we'll submit MD's NOI requirement, as you mentioned, for disturbances over 1 acre. So it hasn't been completed yet, but we'll be submitting it, shortly once we have our official approval letters.
So, to address the question that Commissioner Roberson just raised, what would the revision of this recommendation include in terms of language beyond what we have now to capture the NOI? Because that's another approval, right?
I think you have two options. This
Okay.
is Emily Binary. I think you have two options. You can leave it the way it is because it does refer to all final plans and approvals. And then the listing out is an inclusive list. It's not an exclusive list. So you could leave it the way you are, the way it is,
Okay.
and it would technically capture the NOI. But if that, but you don't have to leave it that way. You could also just add it into that list after the including, right? So it would say including the NPDES permit, comma, the approved statewide general permit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You could put it into that condition if you chose to.
Okay. Commissioner Roberson, did you want us to amend the recommendation to include that explicitly, or are you
No.
okay with the way it's written now?
No, I think just confirmation that it's on their radar and it will be applied will suffice.
Okay.
So no changes
Excellent.
necessary.
All right. Great question though. Thank you for asking it.
Thank you.
I have one more question too. I look to see, and I don't think there's another hand raised in the chat area. This is Sandy Hertz, and my question is, what was the RTE species that they identified? Do you have information on what the actual, was it a plant species?
It was
You
a
know,
plant
or-
species, and I don't remember the species off the top of my head. If you give me 1 second, I can find out for you. But it was something that was, I believe it was some sort of, oh no, it was an herbaceous species, so it wasn't a shrub or a tree. Um, 1 second.
Was it the sensitive joint vetch? Does that sound familiar?
That does sound familiar.
Because they do have a high presence of sensitive joint vetch in that portion of Somerset County.
Okay. And
I can look it up.
DNR confirmed that they did not have any concerns related to it because of that high density. Is that what
Correct.
they're, okay,
Yeah, DNR said that there was a high density and it's locally abundant, as they put it. So they weren't concerned about it.
thanks, Claudia. Claudia Jones put in the chat that it's a wetland species for those that are on the phone. All right. Are there any additional questions from the commissioners at this time? Not seeing any hands raising here. So at this point, I would like to ask the commissioners whether or not there is someone that would like to offer a motion to approve this project.
I'd like
And
to
remember,
offer a motion.
this is a conditional approval. I don't know if you have to say that in your motion or not, but if Pat were here, he would tell me.
Okay, this is Commissioner Laird. I would like to make an approval pending the staff recommendations with all that's been discussed for this project.
Thank you. And is there anyone that would like to offer a second?
This is Commissioner
Hang on one
Robertson.
second.
All right, a second by Commissioner Robertson. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. You have to unmute and indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Any abstentions? All right, hearing none, the ayes have it and the project moves forward. Thank you very much. And we will be listening more to your lovely voice this afternoon during the afternoon call. So hope you feel better. And I believe at this point we can adjourn, and I will see the commissioners back at 1 p.m. for the afternoon full commission meeting. Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.